So I wanted to talk today about drawing compelling characters that are going to set your novel apart from other novels that are in the same genre, in the same category. You want to be able to stand out, and part of what's going to help you to stand out is drawing those characters that are going to be unforgettable to your readers. So key number one is going to be making sure that you distinguish your characters so they don't all sound alike. So they don't all sound like they are from the same parents, that they grew up in the same house, in the same neighborhood, went to the same school, endured the same challenges, and had the same successes. You want to make sure that your characters are different in many different ways, not just in their skin color, not just in their hair color or the color of their eyes, but they are fundamentally different at the core. You want to come up with a group of characters that will be distinguishable from each other. And so make sure that your characters don't all sound alike, that each one has a unique personality that the readers will be able to say, okay, I know that Sally is very different from Jane for A, B, C, D reasons. If your readers can't tell the difference, then your characters are all going to blur together and your story is going to begin to stall. Number two, make sure that your characters have strengths and weaknesses. Make sure that they have clear-cut strengths and weaknesses, because we all do as human beings. And when a character is perfect, that's no fun. And when a character is completely flawed, that's no fun. If a character is completely 100% evil, that's not going to be very compelling sometimes. And if a character is 100% good, that's also not going to be very compelling. And so make sure that your characters have strengths, they have weaknesses, they have unique personalities that are going to differentiate them again. Strengths and weaknesses are important because you want to make sure that your characters are tested from start to finish, that they go through challenges that are going to help them to either become stronger and persevere to the end, or that it's going to break them. And sometimes you're going to break your characters only to build them back up. But you can't do that if you don't have clear-cut strengths and weaknesses for your characters. Number three, your characters should have goals. Your characters should have something that they want to accomplish over the course of your novel. It could be small things or it could be big things. It can be big things and small things over the course of the story. But your characters should have goals. They should be trying to accomplish something. And that accomplishment that they're aiming for should include hurdles along the way. So think of your character as running the 100-meter hurdles. And each few steps, they're going to have a hurdle that they need to overcome. And they need to be able to overcome all those hurdles and then get to the finish line to be able to win. So they're going to have to endure to the finish. But make sure that those characters have goals that they're looking to accomplish. Number four, make sure your characters have depth. You don't want your characters to be one-dimensional. You don't want them to be flat. You don't want people to be able to say, oh, yeah, I already know what this character is going to do in this situation. You don't want them to be able to say that right away. You want them to be able to say that maybe halfway or three-quarters of the way through your story. But if they can look at your character right off the bat and they know how your character is going to react to certain situations, without even reading any further, then you probably don't have enough depth for your character. You probably don't have enough into your character in terms of personality. You really want to add that depth and doing a good character sketch beforehand so that you understand more than just what your character's hair color is, what the eye color is going to be, what their favorite song is going to be, how tall they are, how fat they are, how skinny they are, what their sexual orientation is. You want to think of those things too, but you also want to think of your character's personality quirks. What sets them apart from other characters? You got to add that depth to your character because people have depth to their characters, to their personalities. So your character really should be no different, except that maybe your character's depth should be even more intense than what you would normally see in a person. And finally, make sure your characters are well-rounded. Make sure that your characters are sometimes very lovable, and sometimes you either hate them or you're annoyed by them. You want your characters to have those swing of emotions that they're going to evoke in the readers who are studying them, who are trying to learn about them, who are trying to identify with them, either in a good way, like they love them, or in a bad way, like they hate them. But you want to make sure that your characters are well-rounded. But again, No character is perfect. Characters are going to have flaws, they're going to have strengths, they're going to have weaknesses. So make sure your character is a well-rounded person. And that's going to, again, start with that character sketch that you want to do with your key characters at the beginning of your story. Before you even really start typing, you want to be able to have a good feel for what your characters are going to be like as you start to craft your story, as you start to work on your outline, as you start to take notes for how your story is going to play out. Having well-rounded characters only adds to the depth of the story and is going to make your novel that much more compelling to readers, because the thing that's going to really sell your novel for many people will be the characters that they cannot forget, no matter how hard they try, if they try. Most times, if you draw your characters well enough, they're not going to want to forget those characters ever.